Let's try a little thought experiment. Imagine your life is a huge, raw block of stone. Every single experience, every conversation you have, every little mistake you make, it's all data. But what if most of us are just polishing the outside, making it look shiny and perfect, while inside there's a masterpiece just waiting to be carved out? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today: how to stop polishing and start being the sculptor of your own life. And that brings us to the big question, the one I want you to really think about. Are you wasting your own data? Every single day, your life is giving you these crucial bits of information, signals from your body, feedback from your friends and family, little moments of joy and, yeah, frustration. But are you actually collecting it? Are you analyzing it and using it to grow? Or are you just letting it all slip through your fingers? To really get what this means, I want to introduce you to someone. Let's meet On. He's 32, and from the outside, he's the absolute picture of success. He's got what looks like the perfect life. But underneath that shiny, polished surface, On feels like an uncarved block of stone, just waiting for a sculptor who might never show up. I mean, look at this. Aaron has ticked all the boxes, right? He's got the stable job, the apartment, a decent social life. But his days are stuck in this perfect, predictable loop. Wake up, work, eat, scroll on his phone, sleep, repeat. And he can feel himself getting older. You know, a few more gray hairs, the lines around his eyes getting a little deeper, but he doesn't feel like he's growing. He's just accumulating years. And that word, polished, that's the key part of this whole metaphor. From the outside, Anne's life looks fantastic. It's smooth, it's successful, it's complete. It's the kind of life that gets a ton of likes on social media. But inside, there's nothing there. No real shape, no distinct form, no deep sense of identity. He's basically a blank slate living a life that feels pre-programmed. He's existing, but he's not really living. And you know what the scariest part is? He doesn't even realize there's a problem that needs fixing. And that's usually how it goes, isn't it? The big wake-up call rarely comes as a lightning bolt. It's usually something small, something you'd barely notice. For Anne, the first tiny crack in that polished stone exterior, well, it showed up in the form of a simple pimple. Okay, so here's the scene. Anne pulls an all-nighter, binge-watching some show until 3 a.m. The next morning, he looks in the mirror, sees the dark circles, the pimple, and just brushes it off. Typical, right? But then, at lunch, he overhears his colleague Lynn talking about how her skin was telling her she'd been eating too much junk food. And for Anne, this is the moment it all clicks. Lynn wasn't just looking at her skin. She was reading it. She was collecting data. And Anne has this sudden, jarring realization that he's been ignoring every single signal his own body has been sending him for years. This idea is what's called the art of mirror gazing. And no, it's not about being vain. It's about being a detective for your own life. Those dark circles, they're not just dark circles. They're a data point telling you about your lack of sleep. That dull skin, it's a memo from your digestive system. It's all about changing the mirror from a tool you use for judgment into a tool you use for diagnosis. So, this little realization starts to open a new door for Anne. He starts thinking, if he's been ignoring all these physical pimples, what about the internal ones? You know, the flaws in his character. This is where the self-sculpting starts to get really, really interesting. And the next test comes really fast. His younger cousin, Min, is super excited about learning to trade stocks. He just wants to share this new passion. But before Min can even get a full sentence out, Anne just jumps in, completely takes over the conversation with his superior knowledge, and totally crushes his cousin's enthusiasm. He took what could have been a moment of real connection and turned it into a lecture. Later that night, that conversation just keeps playing over and over in his head. But this is the first time, the very first time. He doesn't make excuses. He doesn't blame his cousin for being too sensitive. He just sits with the ugly truth in the quiet of his room and admits it. He finally identifies that personality pimple, his deep-seated need to always be the expert, to always be the center of attention. And this, right here, is what we call a choice point. He has two options. He can waste the data, just let the guilt fade away, forget about it, and you know he's going to make that same tactless mistake again. Or he can use the data. He can acknowledge the flaw, take ownership, and actually start sculpting. He can decide in that very moment to stop that behavior. And that simple decision, that's the first chip of the chisel against that uncarved stone.
So now Anne is actively looking for these data points, but he runs into an even bigger problem, a giant empty void. When he tries to look deeper inside himself, he finds, well, pretty much nothing. And this is where his journey takes another really unexpected turn.
So he starts this weekly self-reflection ritual. But when he asks himself that giant, terrifying question, what is my passion? All he gets back is radio silence. And this is a huge shock for him. He realizes he doesn't actually know himself. He's been living a life based on habits and what he should do for so long that he's become a total stranger to his own desires. So he tries a different tactic. He asks a smaller and, frankly, a much better question. What tiny little moment made me feel genuinely happy this week? And slowly, the answers start to come. It's not some grand, earth-shattering passion. It's the small stuff, the sweat and fun of a badminton game, the simple warmth he felt visiting his mom, the quiet satisfaction of fixing a broken fan. And a pattern starts to emerge. He loves movement, genuine connection, and creating things with his hands. But just as he's finally getting some momentum, life throws him a classic curveball. He injures his ankle playing badminton, the one new activity that was bringing him real, actual joy. He's stuck on the sidelines for a whole month, and at first, it just feels like a complete disaster. But this forced break, it ends up being the ultimate catalyst. During that 1 month, the longing he feels to just get back on the court is so intense. He realizes it's not just a casual hobby he likes anymore. It's a vital part of who he is. The data point here is the intensity of that longing. You know, we often don't realize what's truly important to us until it's taken away. That injury wasn't a setback at all. It was a magnifying glass. Okay, so Anne's story gives us the blueprint, right? It shows us the path from being an uncarved stone to actually finding the shape within. But how do you apply this to your life? How do you become your own sculptor? Let's break down the practical, actionable steps. It all starts with a simple ritual, and the absolute key here is consistency. First, schedule it. Literally book a 15 or 30-minute date with yourself in your calendar and treat it like the most important meeting of your week. Second, and this is non-negotiable, eliminate all distractions. Silence your phone and put it in another room. This time is for you, not for your notifications. Third, just use a simple notebook and a pen. That's it. This keeps you away from digital rabbit holes. And finally, forget those big, scary questions. Start small. Just ask yourself, what made me feel happy this week? And this chart just breaks it down perfectly. It shows you how to turn those vague, heavy feelings into a concrete action. So if you feel stuck in a loop, just like Anne did, your sculptor's tool is that scheduled quiet time. If you feel disconnected, like you don't know what you like anymore, your tool is asking that smaller question about tiny moments of joy. If you know you messed up an interaction with someone, your tool is to replay it without making excuses and commit to changing. And if you take things for granted, well, life will eventually hand you the tool of loss. Pay close attention to what you miss. Each one of these feelings is just raw stone, waiting for you to pick up the right tool. And this is so important to remember. Ant didn't dramatically quit his job to become a professional badminton player. His transformation wasn't some huge revolution. It was an evolution. He started small. He took his skills from his media job and combined them with his newfound passion, and he started a little YouTube channel about his recovery and his love for sports. He just started sculpting, one small, consistent action at a time. So when you get right down to it, the tools are actually pretty simple. A little bit of quiet time, some honest questions, and the courage to actually look at the data that your life is handing you every single day. The raw material is there. The tools are in your hands. The only question left is, what masterpiece are you gonna reveal?